Hey, welcome to the process. My name is Dr. John Bush. This is from the Science of Fantasy Football.com, where all my video lessons can be found. We are continuing our journey of kind of before and after the ADP versus end of the season fantasy points, 2015 to 22 wide receivers, part 2. So you should probably listen to part 1. Okay, we had discussed, I thought, a very interesting view of the median over the 8 years and kind of what it told us kind of in the landscape. I broke down the landscape, so I thought that was pretty good. Another way, and I think a better way, maybe, I don't know, better in quotes, because we're never sure what definitions mean these days in fantasy football, but an easier for me to visualize patterns and data is through converting the fantasy points averages to a percentage of the best fantasy point average that we've ever seen over the 8-year block, and every other production point is a percentage of that 100%. So that puts it on a 0 worst to 100 best. So you can see kind of how close or not close a performance was after the fact. So again, this chart shows wide receiver. This is before preseason, number 1. This year it's Jefferson to 60th. And then I converted everything percentages. And then I colorized the top 30% over the 8 years and the bottom 30%. So you can kind of see, unsurprisingly, as we get down to the 30th, 40th, that things get real sad. You get a lot of red coloration. Those are sad production points. And so the idea that people are able to pick the so-called sleepers, look how good they have to be. Let's be realistic. Can everybody on Twitter tell you who's the bounce back, who's the sleepers, and all this other jargon? Huh? Look, so you're telling me everybody's better than average, right? It's the old I drive better than everybody else routine. Everybody else is an idiot. I'm the best. Boy, that sure gets old quick. And that's why I really don't spend a lot of time. Just amuses me on Twitter. No offense. But come on, folks. I've been doing science and biology. I'm a PhD in microbiology. I've been doing data analysis and predictions and things pretty much all my life, right? I started in zoology in 1977, and I'm pretty much been teaching for almost 28 years as a professor at a local university here. So I've been doing a lot of work, published papers, written grants, trained graduate student, undergraduates, etc., etc., etc. And I've had a lot of time and effort spent on trying to understand data, patterns, predictions. What's it mean? Okay. And I understand the pros and cons, right? I'm not 100% wrong or right on pretty much anything I say or do, right? But you're looking for tendencies, and I have no clue what most of the people on the Twitter are doing or what their background is. I don't know. They're certainly not doing what I do that I can see. Okay. So deeper in the draft, it gets harder to pick. I will note that 2022 over here, check it out. You had a nice little run of goodness here in the 30s, late 30s here. That was not bad. Had that happened in 2021 as well, had a couple in 2020, but for the most part, it's sadness in that range. So I think that was kind of intriguing, actually. So, and we talked about that. So, if we look at the median data, and I don't think I have the median data, but in the previous lesson, I had the median data for each ADP point, the 8-year median. And you turn that into the old box and whisker, we can see that the top whisker's at 84, the bottom is at 21. So somewhere between 84th of the best to 21st of the best is our pretty much our outcome here. Can't get too much worse than 21 in the first 60, right? Most of our picks are between 56 and 34, and we're close to about 45, 46, somewhere in there. It's a little lower than half, so we're a little bit skewed below there, half value. So that's kind of what we're facing if we're looking down. I know we're not talking the first 5, etc. We're just collapsing all the data and looking at everything, okay, just to get a feel for what's possible out there. Okay, so what I did was looked at the fantasy points, and then converted to percentiles, and converted to percentiles. I think I said that. And I artificially decided to break the 60 into 12ths. So, or 1/5, right? So first 12, ADP, second, third, fourth, and fifth. These data points, the triangles, represent the average, the median of the ADP in that, that's 1, median is closer to 84, it's 2, 3, 4. And so we talked about, okay, the tiers and some things. And, as I look at this data, some way you could break it like this. So median data looks a little bit different than the data we did previously in part 1, but there it is. I just kind of broke it out. And the numbers above show the range of the median data. So from the 50th percentile to the 76th percentile is kind of the box and whisker range there. And so we see that there. So that's kind of when you're picking in the top 12. But to me, it looks like the first 6 kind of are their own thing, whereas the next 6 all the way down to the 24th are kind of their own tier as well. So I kind of artificially broke the first segment into 6th there, just for me to See, so clearly the top 6 ADP wide receivers, you're getting close to 76%. That's kind of where you should hope. Anything above that is gravy. Again, that's 8-year across the board. I know there's variation. And the worst case is 50%. So you really don't have a bad pick. I mean, if you figure anything above 50% is not so bad, but the issue is the draft capital. If I'm using my top pick and I get a 50 versus a 76, that's a big difference. That's 26% difference there. So that can be sad. So I do worry and wonder, look for that outlier. Look for the one that the public is just way off on. Okay? That data in the top 6 suggests there's one sadness, one good one sad, and the other 4 seem to be 70, 76. So they're pretty tight there. So you're probably okay getting 70%, but there is a surprise at the 60th percent. And then if you go to the next 6, it looks like you're from 65 to 50. So you've dropped down in distance 15% between the high and the low, whereas the top 6, you're 26%. So the consequences, I guess, of a bad pick in the top 6 can be devastating. And it's better you only lose 15% in 6 to 12. So does that mean what? Don't pick a wide receiver? No, I just think you do your due diligence and find that outlier of the top 6. Okay? So, I don't know if I've got that available here. Do I have that available? I got to hit the draw out of there. So the top 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So Brown, Diggs, Hill, Cup, Chase, Jefferson. Who's the outlier? The fantasy pros say it's Diggs, of course, the points. I worry about Cup, but I think you need to get deep into those 6. Find the outlier. Are we wrong about Jefferson? Are we wrong about Chase? Those seem unlikely. Hill seems solid. Cup, a little risky. Diggs, a little risky. A.J. Brown seems okay. So I think you need to, right now in mid-June, I'm thinking Diggs and Cup deserve deeper thoughts. One could be a surprise in the bad way. So that's how you convert some of these points and some of these thoughts to kind of the thinking there. Okay. The next block is 62 to 47. Notice the gap is getting closer. 48 to 33. 44 to 27. 40 to 23. So notice 24th down. So wide receivers 3, 4, and 5 in these quadrants here. The best is 48, 44, 40. So in some ways, they're getting a lot alike. But you're getting, what? 17, 17, 15, 15, 26. So other than the top 12 where you're getting 26%, everybody else is kind of, the gap is kind of thin there. So I will note the 12th to 44th. The lowest is 47, and that's the highest you would expect in a 3, maybe even a 4. So the worst wide receiver 2 has been the best of, on median, a wide receiver 3 or 4. Okay. Wide receiver 5, the best we've seen is about 45%. So I guess it's about that journey there, about the best you could ever hope for. So the worst is the best there in that. So really, in some ways, that tells me that third, fourth, fifth are a lot similar than the first and the second. In other words, there's a lot more uncertainty about the first and second wide receivers than the other ones. So you're going to have to struggle hard to find the better ones in wide receivers 3, 4, and 5. Okay, you just need to know that. This idea you can stumble around and grab 5 or 6. Well, I think I saw one article, 17 sleepers. Come on. You gotta be kidding me. Okay. Folks, come on. That's if somebody can spot 3, I'm like, okay, and reliably do it year after year, they got something. Okay? They have an advantage. 17? Okay. Some of us just laugh out loud funny. And I know it's clickbait and you want to tune in and these people flapping their chops and bells and whistles and funny yokes, and I'm all about the data. Could care less if I'm entertaining you. You go entertain, you watch your TV, you go to a bar or something. There's your entertainment. This is fantasy football. There ain't no entertainment here. This is all hardcore fun data analysis. Fun stuff happens elsewhere. Fun is when you're cashing that money when you win and you crush your league. There you go. You can have that evil laugh. Now that's fun. Okay, at the end of the season, when you crush them like bugs, that's fun. Okay, so there you go, looking at the wide receivers, kind of the journey. I think it's a really neat way to look at it. Now, you're saying, well, what about running backs? Man, I did the same data for running backs, 68 to 45. Okay, so that's, what is that? That's 5, what's that, 23? So it's about the most variation. Look at the number 1 running back over time. Look at the median. Has there been some sadness here? Yeah. So look at that. It's like the public has had some sadness with injuries there. Look at the distribution of the second RBs. 50 to 30. 30. So this is way below the best, 48 to 28. In other words, the worst case in RB1, 2, and 3 is about the same. Oh, it gets drops in half at the 4, and it's off the cliff at an RB5 at this point. It's all sadness. So you can kind of see the tiers. There's a lot more drop between sectors here than in wide receivers. It's a lot more smoother. If we did a pattern line here, this is a lot more smoother here. I think, can I do a trend line here? Let's see. Let's do a polynomial. Screw it down. Oh, come on, John. Polynomial. Come on. Okay, there's the wide receivers. Let's do the running back polynomial trend line. Maybe this will help us figure this out. Polynomial. Look at the slope. Wow. It looks to me like you got a little bit of a plateau in RB3, but you got a slope, bam, after RB1s. Woo, looks like a slide here. Kind of slows down here about mid-30s there, then whoosh, again. Here, let me close this. So there's the trend line. Here's the wide receiver. Look how high this is. And then, so very steep slope, first 6, bam. Okay, and then the 2 staying pretty good. Then we drop. And notice the plateau, for the most part, let's see, the plateau, for the most part, is around in there. I know it drops a little bit there. So we almost get half the WR3s, 4s, and 5. Look a lot of the same. Running back looks like, oh, that's wide receiver. Come on, John. Let me draw that out. Come on. This is why. Oh, this is running back. Okay, let me draw. Notice this is kind of neat. For the most part, that looks the same. It's just this guy. It's like almost a curse having drawing the first RB. That's kind of interesting. It's like it drops about right here. You got 1 area, 2, and then maybe right in here. And boy, look at this slide. I mean, I'd have to break it in there. This is definitely, look at this slope. So you're going on a slope here. So if you want to know where the surprise is, the surprise RB2s. Look at WR. 62, 47, 50 to 30. Running backs as RB2s give you the best case scenario is the worst case for wide receivers. How come nobody's telling you that? They should. This is just gold here, folks. So when you get to an RB2, best case is the worst case WR. So you need to really think hard about the trends here. And if you're somehow, your 0 RB is depending on RB3s and 4s and 5s, you better be damn good at picking late RB2 types. That's the only way that your 0 RB is going to pay off for you. And I think I talked about this in my RB lessons that we had. So you should revisit those lessons. But this is way different here. This journey is way different than, in other words, each sector looks like it has its own surprise here. The safest, if I just looked at this, the safest looked right in here, RB3 types. They kind of have a above and below, looks pretty close. But this is, it looks like, even though 12th, looks like the 13th has tended to be as good as some of these here. So you do have a little bit of chance of grabbing from the early 2s, maybe a 1. But after that, you get in your twos here. And there's a couple of cases right here, right there. What, you have 2, maybe 3 or 4, 5, 6 out of what, 26? 6 out of 26, what is that, about 25% shot at grabbing an RB2. But this is so rare, I'd throw this out and just say 24, 12 and 12. So that had to be 36, right? 6 out of, so 1 6. But right here, looks like you got about 5 out of 24, so about a fifth shot. 20% shot at grabbing, and even the grab is probably right in here. It looks to me like if I'm doing 0 RB, I'm not thinking about grabbing any RB that the public thinks is 37 or below. In other words, I better have a strong ass case. Okay, just so now go do your research based on this data, folks. Is this goodness or what? Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay. I plotted it. So I plotted the highs in blue and the lows in red. Notice the low for the WRs is about the same in a 1 and a 2, but then we're about the same here. 3, 4, 5 are nearly the same, and so is the high. So there's a lot of sameness in here. These are the two where you really can have some surprises. So you need to really focus on these two areas. I think you're going to focus on only the extremes here. Here's running backs. Look at this, how low the low gets. 2s and 3s are the same, then 4s, 5s. It's super sad. Even my dog says it's super sad. 5s, it's just 26. Get them. 3s, so it looks like the best. 2s, 3s, 4s, the best. So yeah, maybe you can pull a 2 out here in the 4, but you better be damn good to make your RB work. So that's why your 0 RB works. Okay, that, and you need some injuries and other sadness to happen up here. So 0 RB is almost hopeful for some injuries and other things we're missing. It's a sad way to draft, but hey, I've done it too. Okay, so that's really neat stuff. So if you look at the trend lines, the blue is the running backs. You can just see how much lower they are, the highs and the lows. So high running back and low wide receiver in green, it actually overlaps right in this region here. So there is a time where in the 3s where some of the WRs are worse than some of the RB3s. So you have an opportunity here over your league mates here and here. But it looks like by the time you're leaving to the 5s, you lost that chance. But it's clear the WRs are superior to running backs in the first. Again, this is on median. This is just, I understand you've got the year where you got the bet, whatever. Those are outliers. This is looking at the trends. And again, here's the worst case is almost the best case for the running back. Look at the 2s right in here. The worst WR is almost as good as the best. So think about that, and then it drops here in 3s. Okay, so your WR3s, you have an opportunity. The running backs are almost being forced. Your hand is being forced to them. And then So notice the gaps there. So I would look at this and I would focus on RB3s, early 4 types, fish out the best, because it looks like at best you're going to, you have an opportunity to beat some of these WRs right in here, right in this range. And that is really key. And I think that will put a W in your league column if you can figure out exactly who's who. So look at the latest ADPs, start charting this business, and especially in here you have an opportunity for that. And I would listen to this another time or two, make sure you got what I'm telling you, and look at these trends again. To me, this is the money shot figure right here, the overall trends. This is so good. So good. Just should put money in your pocket looking at your drafts for the WRs and RBs. Good stuff. Best ever. Okay. Part 3 coming. Woo woo.